And I will call the meeting of the Agenda Committee to order. If you would please register your presence by voting yes. We do have a quorum. Would you roll the emergency announcement, please?
Before we get started, let me read the emergency evacuation procedures. In the event of an emergency evacuation, an alarm will sound. Everyone should exit the building by way of the nearest stairwell in a safe and effective manner. If the nearest stairwell is blocked by smoke, use the other stairwell. Do not use the elevator. Once you have reached the main floor, follow the exit signs to exit the building and quickly proceed away from the building. Please be mindful of others evacuating and of emergency vehicles.
Thank you. You might notice that Miss Rhonda has joined Roy and I up here tonight, and she's trying to learn something on the system. It's not a normal thing. So she's going to be with us up front tonight. Next item is the setting of the agenda. The chair will entertain a motion to set the agenda. Commissioner Lewis, is there a second? Commissioner Carver. Now, if you are in favor of setting the, okay. If you're in favor of setting the agenda, please vote yes. If you are opposed, vote no. Please vote. The agenda is set. Now, is there anyone who wishes to speak to an item that is on the agenda? Yes, come forward, please. Let me get the mic on. Give us your name and where you reside and which item on the agenda you wish to speak to.
Troy Ball, live in District 7. I'll be speaking on item G4. G4 calls for a long-awaited and much-needed hearing by the full commission on the jail study. There are 4 verses in Proverbs that address this situation before us, and I'd like to read those. Proverbs 23, verses 1 through 4. When thou sittest to eat with a ruler, consider diligently what is before thee, and put a knife to thy throat if thou be a man given to appetite. Be not desirous of his dainties, for they are deceitful meat. Labor not to be rich, cease from thine own wisdom. Commissioners, I ask you, where else in the Bible does it say that you'd be better to put a knife to your throat and commit suicide than fall for the deceitful ways of government officials? Today we call rulers, leaders, politicians, commissioners, mayors, and sheriffs. Sometimes we mistakenly call those in government servants, but government's officials are very much our rulers, dominating our lives, spending our money, and telling us nearly every move to make. The mayor's deceit with the jail study is obvious. There is no lawsuit. For those of you who voted no, it's time to realize this deceit and move forward. You have a chance to correct this. The sheriff's deceit with the jail study is obvious as well. The county does not make money keeping federal inmates, and the report says that. The only way to make it appear like the county is profiting off of federal inmates is overcrowding a jail, packing the inmates into the jail like sardines in a can. For those saying we need to keep federal inmates for money, heed the words, labor not to be rich, cease from thy own wisdom. Jails do not make money. In some parallel universe, if they made money, to me that seems like ill-gotten gains, but that's another Sunday school lecture, and I digress. The taxpayers foot the bill regardless of what level of government funding. The next federal inmate that you sit back and allow to be brought into a jail to add to the public treasury could be the one that files a lawsuit that brings this whole matter into federal court. Then you will find out how wise it is to keep federal inmates when a federal judge tells you every move to make. When you get the bill for the new jail pod, you will wish you hadn't been given the appetite and fallen for the deceitful meat or sought the riches of federal money. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Is there anyone else? Seeing no hands, we'll move on. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda committee minutes from the 8th of September and October 6th. The chair would entertain a motion to approve both sets. Commissioner Carver, and is there a second? Commissioner Lewis, are there additions or corrections? Seeing none, if you are in favor of the approval of September 6th and October 6th, September 8th, I'm sorry, not October 6th, please vote yes. If you're opposed, vote no. Please vote. It won't. We're learning, folks. Hold on. Okay, now please vote.
Okay, you have 20 yeses and 1 abstain.
And the minutes are approved. The next item on the agenda are items for the consent calendar. About 6 sets of minutes, or is that 5 sets of minutes? And Deputy Sheriff and Notary of Public Bonds and Oaths, the election of notaries and appointments. The chair will entertain a motion for the consent calendar. Commissioner Carter, is there a second? Commissioner French, discussion? If you are in favor of moving the consent calendar forward, please vote yes. If you are opposed, please vote no. Please vote. Mine's all at minimum.
Okay, you have 21 yeses.
That item is approved. There is no unfinished business. Under new business, there is one budget transfer, and I need to get to it here. Chair will entertain a motion on the budget transfer, General County. I'm trying to get to the number. Said the bookmarks are not coming up, Mike. I believe it's the 695 one, isn't it, or is it 70?
Yeah, we got 3 bookmarks that are wrong.
Okay, he tells me there's 3 bookmarks that are incorrect. Randy, would you like to explain this one? I can't tell from this sheet either what the number is. There's something. This 71? We don't know, Mike. How do we find out what we're talking about here if the bookmarks aren't there?
We go online, bring your packet up.
I guess. I don't have a computer, though.
What are we trying to find?
G1 here. It's not there.
Okay.
Do you have any idea, Randy? Go
Well,
ahead.
I've got my agenda from last night on what we presented
all
to
I've
the
got,
Budget
too.
Committee.
Yeah, it's not there.
That's E4.
Yeah.
I wouldn't lie to you.
No, I know.
It's not online, folks, so we'll just let it go.
It's online.
Maybe online, yeah, but it's not in our packet. Does anybody have it in their packet? You've got a hard copy.
In a hard copy.
Move we recess until we get a hard copy.
Okay, we have a motion to recess until we get a hard copy of this resolution. Is there a second? Have a motion and a second to recess. Do you want to do it to a date, to a time certain, or? We're just going to take a short break. If you're in favor, say yes. If you're opposed, say no. If you're in favor of the recess. All those in favor? Yes? Yes. Those opposed? We are in recess.
Can somebody go make us a
Can
copy?
we get a copy? What's the deal here that we don't have? If you can get online, you can see it. Can't get online? know if she'd answer the phone or not. I'm gonna go ahead and call this back to session. Huh?
Steve, if everybody's got it.
I'm gonna wait till Gary gets back. I need to make sure, does everybody see it now? Anybody not see it? We'll wait on Gary to get back. He's gonna tell Wanda not to do all those zillion copies.
Everybody online will freeze. It'll take some bandwidth. It'll freeze it up.
Okay, I'll call us back to order. We'll call the session back to order, and hopefully everybody sees the transfers now. The chair will entertain a motion to move them forward to get it on the floor. Commissioner Lewis, is there a second? Second. Where was that? Commissioner Stinnett. Now, is there discussion? Mr. Vineyard, would you like to discuss this? Tell us about it.
All right, make sure we're all looking at the same thing. Is this the one that's identified as the evergreen?
Yes.
All right, this one is a little unique in that you are not amending the general fund budget, general county budget in revenue or total expenses, so it's still in balance. What this is the final accounting that we're bringing back to you to let you know the final outcomes of the implementation after all the appeal processes have been adjudicated administratively. And what we have is the budget that you were originally presented and approved was a total of $2,046,804, including benefits. And after all of the individual actions of the appeals have been decided, we're coming back to you and saying that we need to move money from those departments where more money was appropriated than what they needed to implement Courthouse. And there were some departments, Evergreen, I'm sorry, and then there were some departments that actually needed more money because of the appeals and reclassifications. And those needed money, so we're pulling money from departments that had excess money and recommending that you approve amendments to their operating budgets to give them money to fully implement the recommendations.
Thank you. Mr. Vineyard, Commissioner Akerd.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not 100% that this belongs here, but we had, when we were discussing the benefits thing a couple months ago, we were told that we would see a percentage of the comps from the Evergreen study that was related to the benefits as part of our packet, and I haven't seen that. Is that in this packet, or was it in one last month?
Mr. Vineyard.
No, sir, I've not included it for, if I understand what you're asking, that's not been included here. We did have ranges. If I understand what you're asking, I think you're asking, and correct me if I'm wrong, what were the level of benefits that we as an employer provide as a percentage of payroll versus other people that we surveyed? What are they doing?
Correct. Their percentages.
If I remember correctly, what we shared with you when we were briefing you on this is the public sector and the private sector, there's anywhere from a 2 to 4% difference. In the public sector, you tend to have a higher percentage toward benefits than in the private sector. And those range, on the folks that responded back, those range somewhere between, I think it was like 18 or 19% on the low end to as high as 34% for private employers. On the public side, if I remember the range correctly, and I can get this for you, the range was somewhere around 32 to 36% for public employers. And that would be the percentage benefits to payroll.
Okay. So we will get to see that in print at some point?
Yes,
in
I'll
relationship to
pass that along to our HR director.
Thank you. Sorry.
Let's see here, let me find my mouse. Commissioner Monroe?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Two things. One, to address Commissioner Akers' request. There is some information in toward the very end of our packet, but I think what's missing is what we as a county, our percentage is missing from that. It provided some public sector percentages, but I think that the county's percentage is missing from that data that was given to us. But to the matter at hand, I understand that this is not amending, increasing or decreasing. But okay, and some departments got a little more than they needed and some got a little less, and so you've worked that out. But how did that come out to zero? How did that, when you went and rearranged all of this, I mean, are each department are they all fully funded according to the Evergreen study, and that came out to exactly zero?
No. I don't know what you're referring to zero.
Well,
But for example, there'll be $36,917 of salary money that will still remain in the general county budget. And the only department you're not approving tonight is the library, because the library board has not acted on this matter.
Okay, when I say zero, I mean zero impact to the existing budget. But what I'm saying is now that all of these have been changed, is there any department that still feels that their pay is below the Evergreen after all of the changes?
I think it's fair to say that there are a number of individuals and departments that feel like they did not get what they deserve.
So, okay.
Because the overwhelming majority of the appeals were not granted by Evergreen.
Okay. So we may still continue to hear some about that then?
Not for this fiscal year, you won't.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Vineyard. The board is clear. If you are ready to move this forward or vote against it, we're going to vote. If you are in favor of moving it forward, vote yes. If you are opposed, vote no. Please vote. Commissioner Bowers? That item moves forward to the full commission. Next item on the agenda are the budget increases and decreases. There are 5 total changes. The first one's in general county for the recovery court.
Mr. Chairman, I move we send it forward to the full commission.
Just the recovery court one?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
1511003.
All right, you've heard the motion. Is there a second? I'm sorry. The motion is to move the recovery court of 7119 forward. And the second was where? Commissioner Carver. Now, is there discussion? Board is clear. If you are in favor of moving this item forward, vote yes. If you are opposed, vote no. Please vote. Need to vote. There we go.
We have 21 yeses.
That item moves forward to the full commission. Next item is the maintenance county buildings for $140,697.93. Chair will entertain a motion to move this item forward. Commissioner Lewis, is there a second? Commissioner Farmer. Now, Commissioner Monroe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is this local money that we're talking about?
Let me get your mic on, Mr. Vineyard. Go ahead, sir.
What this is at the end of last fiscal year, after the restructuring that was done in maintenance, and they anticipated having an opportunity to apply for the grant for the windows in this building and the 54 edition. They wanted to have that money dedicated so there wouldn't be an additional amount of funding that would have to take place. And I assigned that money as part of their reserve. And we're coming back to you now and asking you to appropriate the reserve so that we can use this money to match the grant. But that was the intent to begin with.
Didn't we do that last year, though? At the end
What
of
we
the budget
came to
year?
you with was the grant application, and this was the match that was going to be used. But the fiscal year has now ended, and now we have to be able to appropriate the money so that we can pay the bill when we get ready to when we get invoiced for the windows. Those are out to bid right now.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the board is clear. If you are in favor of moving this item forward, please vote yes. If you're opposed, vote no. Please vote.
Okay, you have 19 yeses and 2 noes.
The item moves forward. Next item is in the Blount County Sheriff's Office for $1,200. Chair will entertain a motion to move this forward. Commissioner Carter, is there a second? Commissioner Lewis, I believe. Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Carver. Now, is there discussion? Board is clear. If you are in favor of moving this forward, please vote yes. If you're opposed, vote no. Please vote.
You have 21 yeses.
That item moves forward. The next item is in the Sheriff's Office, $33,453. Chair will entertain a motion to move this item forward to the full agenda. Commissioner Lewis, is there a second? Commissioner Hedrick, discussion. Board is clear. If you are in favor, please vote yes. If you are opposed, vote no. Please vote.
You have 21 yeses.
That item moves forward. The last item is in the Sheriff's Office for $579,064. Chair will entertain a motion to move it forward. Where was that? Commissioner Lewis, is there a second? Commissioner Stinnett, sorry. Commissioner Kaler, Commissioner Stinnett. Yeah. Commissioner Monroe, you have the floor. Well.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was presented to the IT committee, and was this item ever included in the budget this year? Let me rephrase that. Was it presented to the budget committee during budget discussions?
Mr. Vineyard?
Yes.
And did, at the time, the budget committee choose not to approve it?
No, as I remember, there were well over $1 million worth of requests for additional funding that the sheriff's office submitted, and this was not one that the budget committee recommended at the time.
So the budget committee turned this down?
Technically, yes. However, they recommended a records management system, but it was different from this system.
The budget committee made a recommendation?
No, the request from the sheriff's department was for a system that is different from this system.
Even though they presented Spillman to the IT committee?
You know, I don't remember the vendor at the time. What was recommended during the budget process was a project that was over $700,000.
Okay, I didn't hear that clearly. Could you say that
The
again?
recommendation from the sheriff's department during the budget process was for a project that had a price tag of over $700,000.
Okay, and so it says other use of fund balance reserve. We have that fully in reserve?
We have, at the end of the last fiscal year, we had some 459,000. Since then, we've collected another 10, and by the end of this June, we should have well over another $10,000 based on that revenue stream that comes from the court system. The additional $100,000 was a funding, it's my understanding that the E911 board will be recommending for consideration that Blount County receive $100,000 toward this project. And as I understand it, then all law enforcement agencies in the county would have, be on the same system.
And so you're saying that they have to approve that? That
The
remains?
911 board has to act.
Okay, and I assume they will, but if they didn't, what would happen?
Well, right now, the implementation is, the only thing that's time critical is the first phase, and I think that costs us somewhere around less than $150,000.
Okay, and this will be an annual reoccurring, not this amount, but they'll have an annual reoccurring cost associated.
It's my understanding there will be an annual recurring cost.
Do you have an estimate?
I do not.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the board is clear. If you are in favor of moving this item to the full agenda, please vote yes. If you are opposed, vote no. Please vote.
You have 21 yes.
And that item moves forward. Next item on the agenda, there are no other budget items. Next item is G4, resolution to conduct a teleconference hearing from ILPP consultant. That's resolution 1511-002. Chair will entertain a motion to move it forward. Commissioner Monroe, is there a second? Commissioner Miller, now is there discussion? Commissioner Monroe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The situation before us is not uncharted territory. The jail was overcrowded before and the county was forced to build, leaving us with debt that we are still paying on. We should be able to see where this current situation is headed. The overcrowding wisely led the commission and sheriff to commission a study from a national firm who has studied over 400 counties across the country to provide us with options to address our jail and criminal justice system. The sheriff has recently started sending us letters telling us that he expects the jail overcrowding to persist. He has been telling us that tensions are increasing. The sheriff is actually making the case for why this is the time to act. The next step is to hear from the jail consultant. It will cost us nothing further to hear from the consultant. 13 of us were not on the commission when the final report came out. It would behoove us to listen to the findings. Let the sheriff tell us what he is seeing in the jail. Let the consultant tell us what his recommendations are. Let everyone be heard. If we continue to ignore the situation, then as the sheriff said in his October 28th letter, the repercussions could be detrimental not only to the sheriff's office, but to Blount County also. Here are some of the situations that we could find the county in if we remain inattentive. We could be closed down by the state or by the courts. We could be sued and face allegations that our jail's unconstitutional. We could be sued by inmates because of overcrowding conditions in the jail. We could lose control of the jail to inmate riots from overcrowding. We have a pill problem, and some are warning of heroin becoming a public safety issue. The consultant's recommendations may be helpful to our public safety, budget, and the very fabric of our wonderful community. Many counties in Tennessee are in similar situations and are acting while we are not. National media is publishing the stories. We will be next in the national headlines if we don't get to work now. I had to go back to 2006 to find a jail report that didn't show some serious overcrowding issues. A plan of action was issued in 2012. How much longer can we afford to wait? The Comptroller's website lists Blount County's fiscal year 2014 debt as being the 8th highest county debt in the state. It would be a tragedy for us to add to that financial burden when the county has already been down this costly road before. We should be proactive, not reactive. We as the funding body will have to make tough decisions for the jail. It is not a tough financial decision to have open discussion on what we can do to reduce our inmate population and thereby reduce or eliminate repercussions that the tax-paying people of Blount County will face if we sit back and let the problem continue. Therefore, I urge you to join me in voting to move forward and have a hearing on the study that we commissioned 2 years ago and has been out for a year and a half. Thank you.
The board, let's see, I'm sorry. Commissioner Carver.
The one thing I'm wondering is, we had a meeting set up for the end of this month with the jail committee. This resolution being put forth now, and we had one meeting with the court, or the county technical advisor consultant, explaining what the laws were and what we had to have in place. Since that report's been done and we didn't have that, the author of the study called Washington, D.C. with his findings, and the U.S. Marshal did remove federal inmates from our facility. It placing a burden of a total of $230,000 through November of 2015, and that's on the taxpayers. So that's an increase of tax money that we're having, or cost to have state and local here. So there has been things done. We do have recovery court. We're expanding upon that. It used to be drug court. We're making attempts to bring that into effect to where we can address this drug problem that is in our county, and other problems too, mental and that. So there are some points that we are trying to work on. The hospital itself has taken a stance against substance drug abuse prevention, and that's been a big public advertising, trying to get people to understand what's going on, going to the schools and talking about drug abuse, and it is a problem here. So there are steps being made. It's just the report itself, I believe there was some question on that, but it didn't take place because there was two things. Jim Hart couldn't be available, and he's with the county, or the county technical advisory consultant. He couldn't be here for the meeting, and also the circuit court Judge Harrington, she couldn't attend also, and that's why that was postponed. But since that time, we did have a meeting with Mr. Hart, and to kind of explain things to us. The jail was reviewed. They were approved to go into 2016. And then we're supposed to have a meeting here at the end of this month with the committee to address this, and then see where we're going to move forward. So this resolution, without even meeting with the committee, I don't understand that part. Thank you.
Commissioner Daly.
Okay, I didn't quite understand what you were talking about. Can I ask Mr. Carver directly to explain what he said? I didn't understand.
Go ahead with your question. State your question.
Well, my question is, what meeting is this month that you're talking about? What?
Let me find your mic, Commissioner.
The meeting, Monday the 30th.
Excuse me, I have the commission calendar. It is November the 30th at 5:30 in this room.
What meeting is?
That is the Blount County Corrections Partnership.
Okay, so that's...
You should have this.
I do have that, but, so you're saying that we should all go to that meeting?
No, you should go to the meeting, absolutely, if you want to be there. But I'm saying this didn't go through the committee to request this. This was just an individual on their own. When we had a committee meeting set up for this to talk about our next step. And so, why have a committee if we're not going to utilize it?
Commissioner Carver, Commissioner Daly has the floor. Did you have another question?
How many times has this committee met this fiscal year?
Commissioner Hedrick is the chairman of that. Mr. Hedrick, would you like to comment?
I don't recall how many times we've met. I can be very specific with what Bob Bass and Jim Hart asked us to do. And we've met up until the timeline to, number one, make sure you're recertified, first and foremost, because nothing else matters. Then secondly, let them compile their report of where they have been physically in-house at our jail, putting a report together to give to us as a committee before we meet, to be able to intelligently ask questions after we've read this report. Now, I think it behooves us as the county to listen to a report that's been done in-house before we go to do the recommendation of the ILLP of $68 million to $124 million as their fix. And that's in that report. And you can go back to May of 2014 and read. You can look at November 24 of 2014 of that entire report. But before we spend $124 million, let's listen to a report of folks that's been here and wants to do the right thing. Thank you.
Anything further, Ms. Daly?
I don't understand this $124 million.
Hey, there's been a report that's been available.
I've read the report several times. Was it never paid for? Is that what you're saying?
That's his
No.
estimates of his thoughts of what would fix our problem. $68 million to $124 million. Let's do more work and look at folks that's been in here in the jail, and let's get their recommendation. And that's what we've been waiting on. And that, you know, it's kind of like Bob Bass asked me, do you folks want to meet just to meet? It's a waste of time, it's a waste of money. We had to get our report compiled, but first and foremost, we had to get recertified. And if we didn't, it didn't matter. Well, we've achieved all of those, so now here at the end of the month, let's sit down and read the report and then make good decisions instead of spending $124 million.
Commissioner Kaler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Personally, I have served on the Blount Corrections Partnership since its inception, and I totally concur with Commissioner Hedrick, Chairman Hedricks of that committee, in his thought process that we wait until we have what is fixing to be delivered, which in the words of Commissioner Hedrick, would be a report from someone who is what I would consider to be extensively familiar with Blount County's specific problem. Thank you.
Commissioner Aker. Well, there it goes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm somewhat confused with this resolution. It doesn't appear to be asking for us to fund anything, but to actually hear a report that we hear details about a report that we've already funded. There isn't anything that I see in this resolution that's asking us to support the report or throw away the report, but to merely have a discussion of the report. And this is a report that I believe we paid nearly $100,000 for, $95,000 or something like that. And I'm just confused why we don't want to hear what the person that wrote it had to say about whatever the expenditure is. What is our fear from hearing what he has to say? I mean, if we don't like what he has to say, we certainly don't have to appropriate the money, but we have spent the money for this report. And I'm really confused why we would have bought a report that we don't want to hear from the person that wrote it. Why? What's the problem? What are we afraid of? This is not to approve the report, to ratify a report. This is merely to discuss, the way I read it, it's merely to discuss the report with the author of the report. Wouldn't that be the best way to address our own report when it does come out? If we basically have a little more knowledge about where they were coming from with the one that we've already paid for. Please enlighten me if I'm mistaken on the way I read this. Thank you.
Commissioner Carver.
I would like to see the report that's going to be given to us, for all of us to have that information so we could ask questions on both ways. Okay. So if you're sitting there just saying, here's a report, but we haven't heard from what the advisory consultant has, the report that they put together. If we have that and we all read it all, everything, and then have those consultants here at that same time when we do hear the other, I think would be a better use of our time. It's going to take some homework.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's going to take some homework, but we're going to have a report given to us. You would think that you'd want to read all of it to where you could hear different viewpoints, 2 separate viewpoints coming in instead of one. And then, in my opinion, I would rather do it that way myself.
Did you have a follow-up, Mr. Akers? Go ahead.
Yes, sir. That makes sense if you're saying that we're going to have this teleconference with this author in combination with our own report. That makes total sense to me. I'm certainly not opposed to having all of the reports that we're considering there for us to talk about. That makes sense. What didn't make sense to me was why we seemed like we just didn't want to hear what this person had to say. But if you're saying that when this new report comes out, that we will, that we will schedule a teleconference and discuss both reports, that makes even more sense than this teleconference, for sure.
Well, I think once the committee meets, and then we go through this, and then we do make our recommendations of how we move forward to bring it to the commission. That's what the committee's set up for.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner French.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I recall 2 to 3 months ago going to a meeting at the sheriff's department and they had people from, I think, the Department of Corrections from the state, and I sat through that meeting, and the gentleman was pretty direct. He didn't pull any punches, and he told us we need to get our stuff together, or we could be in trouble. Now, I do recall at that meeting, the last thing that was said was they were going to go back and look at what our problems were and come back with some recommendations. I assume that's the report you're talking about we're waiting on. And I don't know the time frame there, but I personally would like to see what those people have to say before we take any kind of action, because, like I said, they were pretty direct. And they put us in our place and said, hey, we're going to have to do something. I'd like to see what their recommendations are. And at the same time, I believe the report from the gentleman was made public from the gentleman out in California. I believe it was in the packet several months ago. So you can read what his report says, plus we can wait on the report that comes from the state and put the two together, and I think we can be better informed to make a decision on what we need to do.
Commissioner Miller.
Yes, I just think it's very important to this community that we start being proactive and stop delaying. This gentleman did an excellent report, and it should be the concern of our citizens that they be able to view this report and also go along with this committee's report that they're waiting on. But we've been waiting a long time to see this, have a teleconference with this gentleman that did the report, that we have the written portion of it, but to have it presented to the public is what needs to be done. And we do not need to be kicking the can down the road. like we do with everything else. It's time to address the issues and correct it and be solution. We need to get solutions to our problems and be the solution and not the problem makers. Thank you.
Commissioner Hedrick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner French, you're spot on. You're exactly right about the meeting. That was Bob Bass. Did mix words, told us exactly where we were. You know, I don't think we're kicking the can when, at that point in time, we didn't even know if we were going to get recertified. Okay? So that was our biggest hurdle. Nothing else mattered if we didn't get recertified. So we crossed that hurdle. The next thing was their in-house report that's a snapshot of here and now, not 2 years ago, as time has passed, but a snapshot of where we stand right now at their last tour of going through the jail and what we've done wrong, what we've done right, what can we do to fix overcrowding. You know, so we've not kicked the can. We've followed the process, and I think we followed it well. There was nothing really to discuss or talk about until we had this report. Mr. Hart has finalized his report as of the end of last week. And what we need to do as the jail committee is then digest that report before the end of the month, before we sit down to discuss it, and know what we're talking about, know what issues we've got, and then address it. But let's look at where we're at now. What's this snapshot now? Thank you.
The board is clear. Commissioner Monroe, let me get the mic. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What I've heard is just a big pack of excuses. One excuse of how to dance around and avoid, and oh, wait. The jail has been overcrowded for years. Years. It's embarrassing that you don't even want to hear about a report. How embarrassing can this be? You want to talk about waste? If we're not even allowed to talk about it, then that is waste. This is ridiculous. Now, as far as, I recently attended a meeting in Loudoun County for their Loudoun County Corrections Partnership, and I saw the same thing going on over there. You have the same people who profit off of these events, attending and pushing these agendas. And the architect walked up to me and said, "We can't wait to build in Blount County." So you're sitting around waiting until you get the opportunity to build. You're hoping a report's going to come out. This report does not say that we have to build. This report says we need to totally rethink the use of our jail. It's time to quit making excuses. This is an embarrassment to the community. These are human beings. This is a civil rights issue, and they do not deserve to be packed and stacked like sardines in a can. And sitting around waiting and making excuses is completely unacceptable. Thank you.
Commissioner Archer, I'm sorry, Commissioner Hedrick, you're next.
I believe Commissioner Hedrick's spoken twice.
Yeah, Commissioner Archer, go ahead. I had both mics lit up and that green for some reason. I don't know why. Go ahead, Commissioner Archer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm wondering if it would make sense to have the best of both worlds, and if it's possible to table this particular resolution till next agenda meeting. By that time, we probably will have read this report we're talking about. And then we can, if it is what we think it is, and if it's a good solution, then we can compare the two at that time. It might make more sense to do that. Thank you.
Okay, no one else is asking. Let's see, Commissioner Caskey.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that being said, I'll make a motion to postpone till January.
We have a motion to postpone this to January's agenda meeting.
Yes.
I have a second. This is a motion to postpone to a date certain. Pardon me? To the agenda meeting, so it does allow discussion, since it is to a date certain. However, the board is clear. If you are in favor of postponing this item to the January agenda meeting, which is the motion on the floor, please vote yes. If you are opposed, vote no. Please vote.
You have 16 yeses and 5 noes.
That item moves to the January agenda meeting. The next item, wait a minute, on the agenda is announcements and statements. The courthouse will be closed tomorrow for Veterans Day. There is a reception at 10:45 with the reception beginning at, I'm sorry, the meeting is at 10:45. The reception begins at 9:45. The commission meeting will be November the 19th at 7 p.m. Animal Center advisory for November has been canceled. Human Resource Insurance Committee meeting for the 17th has been canceled. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to an item that was not on the agenda? Seeing no, okay, you get in under the wire. Come forward, please. Give us your name and what issue you wish to speak to.
Keith Miller, District 4, and the issue I guess I'm addressing is corruption in the Blount County government. I have something to say to the 10 commissioners who voted not to set the agenda at the October 6th farce of an agenda committee meeting. In the words of the Declaration of Independence, you are, quote, unfit to be the ruler of a free people, unquote. Corrupt county governments like ours are operated by fat cats whose God is control. Now, if the God of the Bible wants to use a resolution asserting his divine authority over Blount County, that is a threat to fat cat control. So what are the fat cats to do? Throw that resolution on the ground and show it the heel of their collective jackboots, and that's exactly what the 10 commissioners did. Based on what you may ask, do I assert that county government is corrupt? Well, let's start with the case at hand. The October 6th meeting that was contrived to shut down before it barely began is one issue. A more motley crew of 10 commissioners never before did so fine a job of taking a box cutter to freedom's throat or cutting Liberty's ship, scuttling Liberty's ship. And they had as their willing accomplice the mayor, who was happy to concoct another meeting absent the judicial tyranny resolution and do so in such a way as to kill any public input. Also making the case for county corruption, we have the Blount County Partnership. This is a black hole into which the county will throw over $1 million this year, and the taxpayers are not allowed to know where the money is going until after the money is promised to multi-million and multi-billion dollar corporations. 2 commissioners asking questions about this use of taxpayer money were blocked for asking questions. That's disgraceful. And we have the South Blount County Utility Board, making a phony baloney survey rigged to fake public approval of water fluoridation, while 3 of them dined at a steakhouse in Nashville for a total bill of $1,500. Then, along the same lines, a Blount County judge tells us we have no right to know from whom the county buys fluorosilicic acid for our water or how much we pay for it. Then there is the matter of the candidates for commissioner being harassed at the last selection by the minions of the county fat cats. That situation was so out of control, one of the candidates had to call the state election commissioner to set the county election commissioner straight. And let us not forget the endless stream of conflict of interest disclaimers we hear at every yearly meeting for the approval of new taxes and for setting the yearly county budget. This corruption must stop.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Harry Groth, John, District 9. The problem-solving techniques that I'm trying to teach my grandson have to do with when the problem begins, when the solutions were offered and what other alternatives have been decided or been revealed that could add to the problem-solving process. If we look at the problem-solving process, we take the situation, and then we take the recommendations, and then we take the new evaluation and the new recommendations of the situation. So I'm wondering why we don't take the evaluation that was done of the situation to see what changes have been made in the past 2 years before we look at the situation that has been evaluated again 2 years later, because we don't know the recommendations that were made 2 years ago. How can we know if there have been any improvements in the last 2 years? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Troy Ball, District 7. I just want to urge you guys that this jail study that...
Sir, this is items not on the agenda. That was on the agenda.
You're correct. It was on the agenda, and now it's on something other than the agenda. It's to be set
Go
forth
ahead, I'll
next
give you
month.
3 minutes, and that's it. Go
Okay.
ahead.
All I'm saying is there's been a lot of obstructionists dancing around an issue. Information is king. Just because someone else may have paid the bill to have the study done that nobody wants to hear, that is ultimate waste. When me as a taxpayer and every Joe and Jane citizen out there that pays for something, if you as a homeowner paid for a service and you didn't receive your service, I mean, come on, you paid for it, at least hear it. What's it hurt, right? So it's not a total flagrant disregard to my wallet as of yet. But I just want to say it's kind of akin to having a home inspection on your home and you find termites and say, well, if I take and adopt a bury my head in the sand type attitude, it'll be okay because somebody else will make me fix it, the feds. Somebody else will be on the hook to pay for it, the taxpayer. And somebody that'll get to fix it will be my brother, my cousin, my uncle, and they'll get to be the one that does the work. And in all of this, I guess we'll get what we want, patronage jobs and patronage contracts. That's ultimately what this is about. Since it's the spirit of Thanksgiving, that I hope that all those patronage jobs and patronage contracts, I hope they all send you guys that'll vote to squash this, I hope they send you fruit baskets. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dick Scott, 3860 Atlee Drive, Louisville, District 10. Sitting here and listening to some of the speakers tonight and over the past several months, I know I'm not allowed to ask the commissioners any questions. It's not a question and answer session. But I was wondering, with all the speakers that are getting up here and speaking, and commissioners, sub-commissioners, about this county being so bad and such a lousy place to live, why is the population of Blount County growing? Why isn't it diminishing and people moving out if it's so bad? Now, any commissioner, I know I can't answer the question, but if you have an answer to that after the meeting, I'd like to hear it. Thank you.
Just one comment. I've heard people speak tonight, and I don't take kindly to people standing up here and making assumptions. That's all I've heard tonight is assumptions. And I was taught a long time ago, when you assume something, two things happen. Thank you.